welcome to Beauty and the Biz, where we talk about the business and marketing side of plastic surgery. I'm your host, Catherine Maley, author of Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying, as well as consultant to plastic surgeons to get them more patients and profits. Now, today's special guest is Dr. Kristina Zakhary. She's a facial plastic and reconstructive surgeon in private practice in Alberta, Canada. Now, she specializes in rhinoplasty, blepharoplasty, facelifts, as well as a variety of non-surgical solutions. Now, Dr. Zakhary is also an associate staff member at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Calgary, and she did a fellowship in facial, plastic, and reconstructive surgery at the University of Toronto that is accredited by both the Canadian and American boards of facial, plastic, and reconstructive surgery. Now, Dr. Zakhary is often a guest speaker at conferences and has authored and co-authored several published research papers about plastic surgery, of course. So, Dr. Zakhary, welcome to Beauty and the Biz.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Could you just quickly tell us your road to private practice? And I know Canada's a little different than we are. Do most surgeons stay in the academic world, or do they go on private practice? And how big of a deal was that for you?
So, as you know, I'm an otolaryngology head and neck surgeon, and my focus is facial plastic and reconstructive surgery. To answer your question, most surgeons complete their residency and maybe fellowship and then go back into academic practice. Private practice is extremely rare in Canada because we do have socialized healthcare. And so a lot of doctors go straight back into, the academic route, or even if they are not in the academic system, they will go into still a public practice, but rural. So how did I go into private practice? I still have a hybrid practice, so I still do work for Alberta Healthcare. I do on-call rotations, and I do operate at the hospital once a month, on average, once a month. And I have the majority of my practice is my private facial plastic and reconstructive surgery practice, where I do exclusively, cosmetic surgeries and procedures in the office. How did I get started? Right out of fellowship, I moved to Calgary, Alberta, because they were starting up a new residency training program here, and they needed somebody from each subspecialty for that otolaryngology head and neck surgery residency training program. And I never thought I would end up out west. I'm from Montreal originally, and everybody who's from Montreal wants to stay in Montreal. It's kind of the most European city in Canada, and it's lovely, and the weather is beautiful, and so nobody really wants to leave, and I didn't really want to leave, but I had to for work, and boy, am I glad that I did, because I love Calgary. It's really beautiful here. I started off working in a room out of a spa. And that's because in Montreal, when you graduate, they automatically offer you a position. If you're hired at the hospital, they automatically offer you your office, a secretary, and a wait list of patients. And I moved here, and it was a wild, wild west. I had to find my own office, I had to find my own secretary, and I had to build up my patient list. So I had been to several lectures at the American Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery annual meetings, and I had listened to you a number of times. So I had a background of how to get started already by listening to experts such as yourself. And the one takeaway that I had from that is start small and then build large. So it's not like the field of dreams. If you build it, they shall come. Start small, start within your means, and then grow. And that's exactly what I did. So I started in humble beginnings. I don't have any connections in my family. Nobody's a doctor except for me. And so I started in a room out of a spa and grew from there. Eventually, I got my own office. And then I got a bigger office, and now I'm just very happy where I am. I wouldn't be opposed to growing more, but I'm very content. And I think along the route, I have been content where I am. And that has really helped me to be happy and grow.
Nice. I do know there's a big challenge when you're trying to toggle between recon and cosmetic. The recon will often take all of your time and focus, and the cosmetic suffers from that, or the other way around. Have you found that to be true?
Yes and no. I have been very careful to even focus my public healthcare practice on facial plastic and reconstructive surgery cases. So I don't do a lot of recon. I'll do functional rhinoseptoplasties, and I'll do functional blepharoplasties, otoplasties on children, because here in Canada, or here in Alberta at least, it's the procedure is covered by Alberta Healthcare until 19 years old. So I focus my public healthcare practice on facial plastic and reconstructive surgery. And the reason I do that is because that's really what I enjoy doing. And I firmly believe that if you enjoy doing something, you do it well. And I don't want to, try to do surgeries that I'm not used to doing, or that I'm not, because I haven't done them in so long, that I'm not really that qualified to do. So I know that what I do well, and I focus on that. Even if it's not a private case, even if it's a public case, I will still perform it as though it is a private case, because that's my reputation on the line.
Yeah. Well, excuse my ignorance, but the last I heard, you could actually have the system pay for your facelift, but you could be in line for 5 years waiting. Is that true?
It's true and it's not true. I think it's a gray line. I don't like gray zones. I like to be black and white. So I never want in an instance where, maybe the system will audit me. I never want to be found at fault. So I draw a very strict line between cosmetic and and public healthcare cases. So, for example, it's very common, as you probably already know, for patients to say, well, since I'm having my septoplasty done, can you shave a little off the bridge? And I always draw a hard line at that. If there's anything cosmetic that you want to do, that's automatically considered a private case. If it's majority breathing problems, and like legitimately the person came to me with a breathing issue and their nose happens to be crooked, then I will suggest, if you want to straighten it, we could do it at the same time. But if it's a majority cosmetic case and then they throw in, oh, well, I also have trouble breathing, can you do that? And will it be covered? The answer is always no to that, because number one, the cosmetic surgery might actually reduce the breathing space, especially if you're doing a reduction rhinoplasty, making the nose smaller, and which I explained to them. And number two, the main concern is a cosmetic concern. It's not a breathing concern. So I don't like to scam the system, and ultimately somebody's paying for it, and it's the taxpayers, and it's not fair.
Right. And that reminds me, I think you do a very good job qualifying your callers, because don't they always call and say, is this going to be covered? So could you just explain your system about how do you qualify callers and make sure you have the right people in your office that you actually want?
Well, I actually have you to thank for that, Ms. Catherine, because you train my staff. So, I do qualify my callers according to your suggestions. So whenever a caller calls in, we get their history. My assistants will get their history, what they would like to change about their nose or face or eyes or whatever it is they're concerned about, what timeline they would like to have the procedure performed in. We always give them straight off the bat the cost of the surgery, or an approximate cost, so that there's no surprises. We like to be fully transparent. And so also people can budget, or, seek another surgeon if the budget doesn't fit them. And I just want everybody to be very prepared. We also ask for photos. So we ask them to send us photos with a description of what they would like to address in the body of the email. And then that way I can see if I can meet their expectations. If it is a good fit, then we will call the patient and organize a video consultation, just kind of like what we're doing now by Zoom or FaceTime or another video app. And during the consultation, I'll go through how I do the surgery for them. So it's always individualized and personalized, what the recovery time is like, what the risks are, what the benefits are, and show them before and after pictures of my work so that they can be fully prepared and ready to make a decision. We allow them about 2 weeks to think about it, and credit scheduling fee, the consultation fee, towards the surgical fee. So I feel like we are very thorough in assessing expectations and assessing mental and physical health, and just trying to get the patient ready for the procedure if it's something they want to pursue.
It's so funny. So many practices try to play the quantity game versus quality. They just say, forget all this qualifying on the phone. I'll take care of them when they get here. And that is one way to do it, but you'll wear yourself out. You'll also wear out the staff. And I love that you're going for quality versus quantity, and you see less people, but they're so darn qualified that your conversion rate is like 5 times what it normally would be when you're just trying to get anybody in there. I love that you appreciate your time,
I agree, and to be honest, you taught me that, so I thank you.
Good. Yeah, I'm so glad you heard that, because in today's world, it's just getting, I don't know another word other than flaky. It's getting so flaky that why are you going to waste your time talking to some silly person, especially Rhino, that they don't have money, or they have no clue of how board certified you are or how experienced you are, and all they care about is get this bump off my nose and let the insurance company pay for it. And
yeah,
I think that you've structured it enough where you're getting good qualified people in there. So congratulations.
Yes, and
on
the more educated the person is, the more ready they are, and I think a better patient they're going to be. So I've had very good experiences thanks to that system.
Oh, that's fantastic. By the way, the biggest issue typically, let me ask you, what's your biggest challenge of running a private practice?
Oh, it's got to be the HR. Yeah. I'm a micromanager, and I don't like being a micromanager, but just by virtue of being a perfectionist and wanting to control every little thing, I find it very hard to relinquish control. I know I have to. I'm very aware of that, but I find it very difficult. So I find myself a lot of the time holding myself back and apologizing a lot to the staff, because I do have to trust them. They have been handpicked, and they have been loyal, and they're excellent staff, and they are really supportive of me in all the ups and downs of this, practice. We have grown together. And so I think it's been a learning curve for me of how to let go a little bit of control of that part of the practice. And I would say that that's the hardest part for me.
You know what? I go back and forth with this, and I don't want to say gender related. However, we are women, and women bosses. It's a different challenge, I would say, than oftentimes our counterparts. And you are looked at as, a biatch, and
I hope not.
Right? And
Yeah.
it's so, but you're the one taking the risk. It's your practice, your name on it, and I like that. I like that you're a perfectionist. Although I must say, when it comes to staff, they don't think like you do, and that's why it's so challenging, because they think this is good enough. What's the big deal? And that's why this is so challenging. You're just trying to work with people who are on a different plane than you are, different mindset, not as much skin in the game. We'll never have that.
I would agree with the skin in the game comment. As the surgeon and as the practice owner, I have a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. I have to make sure that the surgeries go well, that the experience is good. It's not just about a good result, but it's about the good experience as well. It's about the keeping the lights on in this place, so paying all the bills. And I also have responsibility to pay the staff so that they can have a livelihood. So there's a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of the practice owner and the practice, the surgeon. And so I don't think a lot of people realize that. They say, oh, you're, a plastic surgeon or a facial plastic surgeon, you're rich, it doesn't, they don't see all the hard work that goes into building a practice, maintaining a practice. And if they did, I think they would have a lot more respect for the surgeon or the practice owner.
Well, that's why I like to have staff meetings and actually show them the recipe, show them what goes on behind the scenes. And while they're all out having fun on the weekends, you're trying to figure out, how are we going to bring in more money to make sure everybody gets paid, And I keep reminding them about them, but in a nice way. Like, I like to have a kitchen mission statement. And literally this statement would say, we love our patients, we love taking care of them, but we also love taking care of ourselves, because we all do. We all want to experience a nice life. Just
absolutely, and we're all interconnected. I mean,
Right.
if somebody's happy, then the whole group is happy. If somebody's upset, then it tilts the mood in the office, and then that affects patient relationships and patient care as well that day, for example. So you're right. It's all interconnected, and we all have to be supportive of each other.
Right. Gosh. Yeah. Hire well, that's for sure. Fire fast, hire slow. All of that is so true. It's
So
cliche and
true.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it's cliche
So
because it's true.
exactly. So let's talk about surgical versus non-surgical. How big of a deal is non-surgical in your practice? And do you have a philosophy of a one-stop kind of shop, or are you more surgery and you could like pass off on the non-surgical? What's your feeling on
I think for me, I like to do both. I like to build relationships in the non-surgical aspect, and I like to do the surgeries. So I do it all myself. I do not have a nurse injector, and that's because I really value the relationship and I value my reputation. So if I'm doing it, it just comes down to the micromanaging aspect of my personality. If I'm doing it, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm placing product. I know where I'm putting a suture. I know where I'm putting, so I'm responsible for everything, and I'm also responsible for the results. So the good result or the bad result, it all comes down to me. And I also am not interested in training someone out of a job. So, I see a lot of places where they have hired a nurse injector or a nurse practitioner, and then that person gains a following, and then that person leaves. And who's out of luck? It's the doctor that's out of luck, and it's the doctor that has grown this person's practice for them. So I just don't think that's fair, and I don't feel like going through that disappointment. And so I like to do the procedures myself, mostly because I like to maintain control over as much as I can maintain control over, and then secondly because this really is my practice and I want my name stamped on everything that happens here.
There's always a fork in the road eventually, typically, where you feel like that right now because you're young and vibrant. And as you get older, you start looking at this and saying, wait a second, or not, maybe not. Maybe you'll always keep it boutique-ish. However, it's difficult to grow when you are when you're the revenue generator, period. So but there's nothing wrong with that as long as you know yourself and you're more comfortable handling it. But it's difficult to grow. But if you do want to grow, then you have to relinquish some of that control. And and like what's less painful is really the decision. So
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's going to be a time where you don't want to do it all.
as you get older, you start looking at it, especially when you're thinking about exiting someday. You're trying to think, wait a second, what would somebody buy this for? Like, what are they buying? Because if you're and how do you transfer that to some other surgeon? And that's when down the road you might start looking at that and going, wait a second, let me recalibrate.
I've thought about this, to be honest, and I think down the road when I'm ready to relinquish the practice and transition out, I would probably look at taking on a junior staff member and incorporating them into the practice, and then they can grow, and then I can slow down and then make an exit that way. I think that's the way I would do it, rather than hire somebody, because ultimately that person has no obligation to stay with you. But if it's a junior associate who stands to inherit the entire practice or buy the entire practice from you, then they have more skin in that game.
For sure. And you take your time getting to know them. It's a marriage, boy. It's so serious. So
yes.
I would tread lightly. Yes.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about marketing, because, and you and I have talked about this. I have spoken in Canada several times, and my talks are a joke. Every time I have a strategy, they say, "Oh, we can't do that here. We can't do that here. We can't do that here." And I think, dear Lord, I mean,
so many rules.
America. Yeah, still so many rules. And I'm a marketer. I don't like lawyers or rules. And so how do you market yourself there with all those limitations?
You play within the rules. So, for example, I have to state by law that I am an otolaryngology head and neck surgeon with a special focus in facial plastic and reconstructive surgery. That's the law. I know it's a mouthful.
That is so funny. Do you know why I wondered that? Because I was on your website and you made a big deal. Like your big headline was otolaryngology, and I thought nobody knows what that is. I don't know why you're
Nobody knows what it is.
emphasizing it. Yeah.
But there's a big turf war, and the plastic surgeons raised a big fuss, not just where I live, not just in my province, but in several other provinces. So that is one of the main standards of advertising that I have to abide by. And that's fine. I don't mind abiding within the rules. I'm not embarrassed. I don't feel less than. I think they feel like if I say that people might think that I'm less than a plastic surgeon, and that's fine. Like that's their opinion. I don't feel that way. In fact, I think that gives me a leg up. If somebody wants to have a nose surgery or a face tightening or a neck lift, who are you going to go to? Are you going to go to somebody who does breast implants and hand surgery and tummy tucks all day? Or are you going to go to somebody who's been trained and specifically focused on surgery of the head and neck and nose? I mean, obviously you're going to go to the person who has the most experience and the most training. So I wear it as a badge of honor. Like it was supposed to be as a, you're less than us, so you have to mention that somewhere that you're less than us. I don't see it. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of my training. I'm very proud of my experience. And I'm very proud to advertise it. Another thing that we're not allowed to do is put testimonials. So I had a website page that was just dedicated to testimonials for my patients, but then I had to, delete that because a prominent local plastic surgeon took me to the college and made a, complaint about my website. So I had to take that off. I also had to remove the part of my website pertaining to Botox injections because in Canada, you're not allowed to advertise a drug that's offered under Alberta Health, Canada, I don't know, you're not allowed to advertise that Botox reduces wrinkles. You're not allowed to do that. So you're only allowed to say that you perform Botox injections. So those are just some of the limitations but I play within the rules. I do not like to get in trouble. I'm a rule follower. And so if somebody points out something that I'm, straying outside the lines, then I quickly correct my path. And I've always been a rule follower. I think I will always be a rule follower.
Well, especially up there, your competitors will keep you, hold you to the fire, your feet to the fire.
Absolutely. But I have confidence in myself and I have confidence in my training. So they can throw whatever they want to throw my way. I will come out on top because I have confidence in what I do and how I do it. I go by the book.
And you have integrity and they can't play with that,
Absolutely.
So you keep doing what you're doing. I also remember in Canada, all of the med spas or the doctors had a practice, but then they had like a med spa type building next door because they couldn't sell skincare products, only the med spa part could or something. I just thought you people, you got some rules up there.
There are some hard rules to follow, but
yeah,
in the end of the day, there are ways how to still do business. There's still ways how to market, and so we make it work.
Well, I did notice when I looked at your social media, you only have Facebook, or I actually couldn't find your Facebook. It kept going back to mine, so that might have been my problem. But there was no Instagram, and it was just Twitter. And I thought, are you not doing Instagram?
No, I have Instagram. I have Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but I do not have TikTok. And maybe I'm just too old, but I don't like social media. I don't like it. I'm not a social media marketer. I'm not savvy on social media, although I think I should be. But I just feel it's a double-edged sword. You have to have it to market, but it's also a gateway to all sorts of problems. It's a gateway to unrealistic expectations. It's a gateway to comparing yourself to other people's, results, results to other people's results, and what they're advertising may not be the truth. There's a lot of faux shop involved in what's put online. It's a gateway to unfair criticism. I have a hard time with social media. I don't like it, but I have to do it.
Especially if you want that rhino patient, they're on TikTok. And my advice would be the next hire you have, especially your phone receptionist, if she's also really good on social media, you might change your mind, because when you get somebody who knows how to video edit and has some creative, fun ideas, it could open up the world for you. But yeah, I hear you. Social media, we did not grow up with it. And I think it's the biggest waste of time on the planet. I can't believe how much
Yeah.
my teenage nieces and nephews spend on it. But it's not
Yeah.
for me.
I have a hard time with it because I just feel like it takes, so first of all, a lot of unrealistic expectations out there, and it's promoted by social media. And like the biggest trend to date that has been sort of like a pain in my side has been the nose job. What is it called? Nose job check.
Oh, what's
Yeah,
that?
have you heard of that one on TikTok?
No,
Where somebody
no.
says nose job check, and then they put a picture of themselves before surgery, after surgery, and the final product, and it looks like no time has passed. So people aren't really coming in with realistic expectations about healing, about results, about any of that. It's just they imagine it's going to be a very quick recovery, just like what they saw on TikTok. But I just don't think that that's realistic, and I think that is fueled by not just TikTok, but all social media outlets are fueling unrealistic expectations. But of course, I know in order to reach a certain demographic, you have to be involved in social media marketing.
You just have to be where they are. And if they're not
Mm-hmm.
Googling you or Googling something, because I think you have to have both. I do think you need SEO. Your website's got to have content that drives people to it. But then for those people, like I have a 16-year-old niece who's never even heard of email or Googling. Like she just spends time on Snapchat, and all of her
Mm-hmm.
news is on TikTok. But that's where that Rhino group is. So do you do a lot of Rhino, or do you prefer like the aging face, or how is that
I think right now
evolved?
it started off. I was doing 80% rhinoplasties and 20% everything else. I mean, in head and neck, uh, cosmetic surgery. Now it's about 50-50 rhinoplasty and aging face. So, facelifts, neck lifts, blepharoplasty, forehead lifts. And so I really have a big variety of demographic in terms of my patient base. How do I reach them?
Yeah.
I do have social media presence. I have a group that runs my social media accounts. So that's really good. I really have to think about it very little. I give them content, they come up with their own content, and it works well for me. Uh, the other thing I do is of course, I have SEO and a website that I've been taking care of and have changed it over the years. And then I have a lot of, presence in still, I know a lot of people say it's not very useful, but I think it is for brand recognition. So on television and on newspapers and online on newspapers, like if you're reading something pertaining to plastic surgery or cosmetic or beautification, I'll have a banner that'll show up. So I try to have a presence everywhere so that when somebody thinks of facial cosmetic surgery or facial cosmetic surgery procedures, they think of my name. And I'm trying to really build a brand. And I think that I have reached that, and I just maintain it now.
Oh, good for you. The easiest way to tell is just, always asking that patient, how did you hear about us? But ask them again. I find that when you ask them initially on the phone, they'll just have some flippant answer typically. And then when
Mm-hmm.
they get to know you better, then you get the real answer. Well, I was talking to a girlfriend and she mentioned you. So then I checked you out on Instagram. Then I went to your
Yeah,
website
yeah.
and I called you. So I'm learning that answer is very fluid. You know?
Yeah, it is. It really is. But I have to say the best marketing is word of mouth. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
doesn't, yeah, and that's the best because you know that they are coming from a positive experience, or somebody who knows them had a positive experience, and they know your work intimately. So I love word of mouth marketing, but of course you can't rely on that. You have to, especially when you're starting, have a presence in the community that's not just word of mouth.
Right. So we talked about the business and the marketing, and I want to talk about the mindset because you, like everyone else, have had challenges. But tell me about any of the adversity that you have experienced. How did you get through it? What did you learn from it? That kind of thing.
I have had a lot of adversity in every single stage of my practice, and never feel discouraged by it because I know that there is something to learn from every experience, even if it's a bad experience. So the first bad experience that I had was when I was starting out in practice. I was just coming out of my fellowship and starting my practice, and I fell in the hands of a scam artist. Um, it, she fit the bill of a scam artist. She befriended me. I worked with her. She had a little spa that I was working with her out of, and she, she would flatter me and say things like, "You're like my daughter. I'll take good care of you." And "You're the doctor. You don't have to worry about the business aspect of things. I'll take care of that." And then she quickly was, siphoning money and hiding money. And so in the end of the day, after I discovered all of this was happening, it was about 3 years after I had started working together with this person. And I found that she had stolen upwards of $200,000 from me over the course of 3 years. And this is when you're first starting out, you don't really have much. You don't have that kind of money to lose. So
How did you
that
find
was,
out?
I went to do my taxes and I asked for the books, and I found out that she had put on the books that I was her employee, not the other way around. And so I was very close to losing my business, but I very lucky to have a good support system. My accountant, my lawyer, both discovered this, and they quickly told me, like, do this, do that, so that I can salvage my business and keep it under my name. She had weeks. She literally had weeks to be able to claim the business as her own. So they got me on the right track. I went out on my own. I was very nervous because I didn't know anything about business, and I was led to believe that I didn't need to know anything about the business, which was the biggest mistake ever, which is why I think that I became hyper involved in every single aspect of the business and micromanaged, because I lost a certain amount of trust, right? That I had given away all my trust undeservedly. And then after that experience, I said, I'm going to take care of everything. I mean, right down to taking the photos, taking out the garbage can at the end of the day. I became everything in my business, and that made me grow. A lot of people would say, "Oh, woe is me," and I am not going to do this again. But I learned from it. I picked up my socks, and I got back in the saddle, and I learned about how to do business. I learned how to hire people and fire people, and I learned how to do inventory and all the business aspect that we don't learn. It was baptism by fire. That was the first adversity, and it really helped jumpstart my business sense, because before that I hadn't the faintest clue. The second adversity was when I was moving from my first office to my bigger office, and I got diagnosed with breast cancer right in the same month that I was supposed to move. So that was a shock. That was a big shock. All of a sudden, everything had to come to screeching halt. I had to go through surgeries, chemotherapy, and the whole time I didn't want to feel like a victim. So I kept on working. I didn't do surgeries because I heard of chemo brain and I didn't want to make any mistakes. So I was doing consultations and in-office procedures, and my staff was instrumental. By that time, they had been with me for almost 4 years, very loyal to me and very supportive. So they got me through that initial period where I couldn't do surgeries, and I was still able to run the business. And what did I learn from that? I learned that I can make it through adversities, and I really relied on my faith. I have a strong faith background. And, I feel like if you ask God if you have a faith background like I do, I asked God for help, and I feel like He answered my prayers. And visualize what you want, manifest according to His will what you want. And, I have not been let down to date. So it really, I think, made me stronger emotionally, spiritually. And I have a lot of compassion now for patients who have been through things like this. Before, I didn't have compassion like you do after you've been through something like this.
Wow.
So I learned a lot.
How do you feel now?
I feel better, but then I recently lost my beloved dad.
Um,
And that taught me a lot too, because, when I have patients who said I lost a brother or a sister or a mother or a father, and you say, oh, I'm so sorry. You don't know how it feels until you've been through it. And I've been through it and I know how it feels. And even though my dad has passed, I still feel his presence with me. I remember, sorry, I get emotional when I talk about him, but I remember what he taught me. He really set me up for business. And I really think that, he's still with me. So I think every adversity teaches you something. Every adversity has something to learn from it. And you can't feel sorry for yourself. You have to keep on going. And it's true what they say when they say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It really does make you stronger. So I say thank God for all the good things and thank God for all the bad things too, because they teach you something.
wow, I had no idea. You look fantastic.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
no,
mean, you
don't be,
must have
because it taught me a lot. And one of the littlest things that it taught me that I use in my practice is anti-nausea medication. I
like,
now have a good knowledge of anti-nausea medications because I know what worked for me and I know what works for my patients. So that's one of the little things, but just an example.
well, I'll tell you, you know what? That's inspiring because, like I am healthy and I sweat the small stuff, like that little book says, don't. And I have to remember, I love hearing stories like that. I have to remember, be quiet, be grateful for everything you have, enjoy the moments, the good ones and the bad ones. They're not bad; they're just not good yet. I'm really trying
Exactly.
to get there.
Exactly. And don't sweat the small stuff because it doesn't matter in the end.
I love to sweat the small stuff. Dear Lord. Well, I was going to say, tell us something interesting we don't know about you, but I think we just got a earful there. That
I
is
think I
amazing.
think you got a bunch.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm so glad for you that you're okay now, but oh yeah, you have to be super strong at this point. You're full of compassion and empathy for others. Like, oh,
Don't be sorry. I think it turned me into Superwoman.
for
You can't
sure.
knock me out. Not yet, anyways.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up now, but I do want to give your website in case anyone wants to get a hold of you for a multitude of reasons. It's facialcosmeticsurgery.ca. Yeah.
And my Instagram is at DR Facial Plastics.
Well, you know what? Tell your social media people they have to put it, or tell your website people the logo wasn't on your website. Yeah.
Uh-oh, I better call them immediately and do that.
I know. Get them on that. Anyway, it's so nice to catch up with you. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I will see you at a meeting someday. Yeah.
I sure will. Thank you. It was so nice to catch up with you, Ms. Catherine. Thank you for interviewing me today.
Absolutely. And everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today at Beauty in the Biz. If you do want to subscribe, please do. Of course, we'd love a good review. And if you've got any questions for me, please feel free to leave them on my website at catherinemaley.com, or you can certainly DM me on Instagram at Catherine Maley MBA. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon.